many companies in the world can claim that they have been in the business for 100 years. And I'm glad we made that feat, so to say. And I will show you some of the information on that. And then when we have breaks, when we have lunch, we'll do the video or whatnot. The Boeing company heritage, as I said, was 100 years, 1916 in Puget Sound. And these are all the different companies that have been sort of the part of the Boeing. So the aerospace heritage that existed for a number of years in the past, we have over the time encompassed. And of course, everybody knows the McDonnell Douglas, which we acquired and we merged with in 1996. So a lot of rich history, and we have now come together for 100 years, and now we have entered the second century of innovation and new things to come. So Boeing was a significant part of India's aviation history. In fact, you will see here all different airplanes that came over the years from Boeing into India, and then these are some of the other airlines that have been in existence, like the SpiceJet, Jet Airways, the VVIP airplane for the Indian Air Force. So we've been a part of India's aviation history ever since, I would say, it began. And it's a pleasure to work with them. We've been like about 70 plus years, and we continue to be part of that. Now, going to the next page. Yesterday we only talked about the India-specific market, and we announced this at Farnborough actually, and obviously many of the Indian reporters or media wasn't there. But our forecast for the whole world is 39,620 aircraft worth $5.9 trillion. A substantial increase from what it was before. As you can expect, about 70% of that is going to be the single-aisle airplane, like the 737, A320. And then, in terms of wide bodies, we have broken down into two: the small wide body, like the 787-8, and then the medium wide body. And then we also created a category called the large wide body. And the large wide body really is the A380, 747-8 type of airplanes, which continue to be kind of slowing down in terms of its acceptance because of these airplanes are taking over. And the reason it is happening is the seat mile cost of these smaller airplanes is actually better than some of these gigantic airplanes like the A380. Now, if you look at this 39,620 airplane, you can see that the value of the small wide body and the medium wide body is almost the same, okay? And the world total, as I said, the $5.9 trillion. We do have regional jets at about 110 billion. And we'll talk about India, which is now going to get importance of the regional jet simply because of the new policy, and we'll discuss that in a bit more detail here than we did it in yesterday. Now, if you take the same data and break it into the region, you can see that Asia accounts for almost 40% of the total airplanes going in. That has been the case over the number of years, and we continue to see Asia maintain its position and also continuing to be the key market for every OEM in the world, whether it's the Boeing, Airbus, or even the new entrants like the MRJ and the Embraers that are coming in. The value of the Asian region in terms of that 5.9 trillion is $2.3 trillion. So again, 40% in value is coming into Asia. So it's really a huge market, and of course, two of the world's giants in terms of population, China and India, are in this particular region, and that's another reason why these numbers are so big. The thing to note now is Middle East is coming into prominence. These numbers were never so big in the past. 3,310 airplanes, and you can see that North America, Europe combined are almost as big as Asia now. So the whole dynamic is shifting in the world towards Asia because of the population, because of the disposable income, And most importantly, because of the advent of the LCCs, which are much more in Asia than any place in the world, though as you know, United States and Europe, where Southwest and the Ryanair and the EasyJets and all started, but the concept has now been more mature and more in use in Asian markets. So coming to Indian market, as you already know, 1,850 airplanes, 265 billion. But the thing to note is almost 85% of it is going to be single aisle, okay? Which number is getting bigger and bigger. It used to be about 75%, now it has gone up to 85%. And the reason for that is the domestic LCC market and the domestic connectivity is what is pushing that number. And they also use this airplane for up to 4 or 5 hours in the region. So if you are going to Nepal or Dubai or any of such places, you will basically use this airplane. And the wide body we have updated slightly bigger, and the same number last year was, as you know, 1,740, and it's gone up by 110. And this number was 240 billion, it's gone up by 25 billion. But in terms of value, you can see about 1/3 of the total value is in wide body and 2/3 is in single aisle. Now, we've shown here only 10 regional jets, and this was done before the policy was announced and executed, or it's not executed, before the policy was announced. So I generally would think that next year when we are up here, we may see a different number for that. And a lot will depend on how the policy is implemented, which are the players who will take plunge into the water and say, I want to try out the regional connectivity. And government has done a good job by encouraging the regional connectivity, because they are now saying, okay, we will allow you to operate, and if you lose money, we'll give you, I think the number is 80% in terms of viability gap funding, okay? That's pretty good. Not many places in the world you can get into business and somebody guarantees you if you lose money, you'll do that. So why is that important? Because that will encourage that. This is not an easy business. This is not for the faint-hearted to get into this business, because our train network, our buses, and particularly now that our Minister of Transport, Mr. Gadkari, is trying to improve the highways and more roads are being built, it makes it really hard for a regional connectivity type airplane to fly against all this. If you want to fly 200 kilometers or something, it's much tougher than to drive, because you have to go to the airport, you have to go through security, you have to wait for the airplane, you have to disembark, collect your bag, all that thing can take time. So it'll be interesting to see how we see the picture turn in the next 6 to 9 months. So when we are here next year about this time, we will have a important update for not only the entire CMO, but certainly for the regional connectivity piece of it on the policy. Okay? Now, why we continue to see a better and improved connectivity and increased CMO? Because we continue to see around the world liberalization. The policy is a form of liberalization in India. This is the first time the policy has been written and has come out. We are growing middle class here, which continues to do better and better. And then in India also, Indigo, SpiceJet, Go Air continue to grow, and I'll show you in a minute that 60% of the flights today in India are by LCCs. Okay, next. And this chart, you have seen a different version of it, but I want to say that we have started moving up on this curve, which goes like that. It's a logarithmic scale. And the diameter is the population. Only China and India are this big. This is US, about 1/3 the size of India. And then these are different countries. And on this axis is the GDP per capita. And here is the basically available seat miles or kilometers. And so in America, a lot of people fly, so this number is pretty high. In India, while we have more people, but the GDP is small because there's a correlation. We don't have as many airspace generated by doing so. So as India moves up on this graph, you can see a small movement can double the growth rate into India. And this is why the 20% rate that you see in India is not a surprise of any kind to us, at least, because this thing is inch-bugging up, and as the GDP grows in India, a movement on this direction is going to take it better and better. It's only when you come into, say, high GDP numbers, then you don't move as fast onto the curve. Okay? So this is what I was telling you about. 60% of the LCCs of the all flights today are done in India. You can see how that number, these are the weekly frequencies. So two messages here. One, the number of frequencies are more than double in the last decade. And then here, when we started, and then in 2006, there were only 20% flights were LCC. Now there are 3 times percentage-wise flights which are LCC. So that's a trend which is worth noting. Will that change a lot in the future? I think you can see the last 2 years that hasn't changed much. I think we pretty much reached the stabilization. You may move 1 or 2 percentage points, but it isn't going to be from 60 going to 40, going to 20. You're not going to see that in my opinion. Okay? So where are we in terms of our aviation? First thing to note, and I say this in the last 3 years, I've been talking on the CMO, the growth rate in India is still the highest in the world. From the entire CMO that we have done for the world, different parts of the world, 8.6% is the highest in the world. The capacity discipline is in good shape, and what I mean by that is people are just adding airplanes, which is going to cause sickness for everybody. And so what is the evidence of that? The load factors have gone up from 76 to 82 from 2014 to 2015, which means the aircrafts are being utilized better, and that means there is a better chance for airline to make money, because those extra 6% that are flying in the airplane is basically revenue straight going into the profit or reducing the losses. Because the cost of the pilot, the navigation, fuel, all that stuff is already factored in when you got those 76% people. Now when you got these 6% extra people, you're going to get all that money straight into your bottom line. Fuel prices, exchange rate, and the load factor, these are the 3 key things which will drive the operating cost and then profitability. Fuel price is risen in the last 6 months, and I'll show you the chart on that, but it hasn't risen enough that we are concerned right now. In fact, it's still hovering around $45, and we don't see that go extremely high in the next 12 to 15 months. But we have seen that fuel price as high as 3 times that in 2008. The rupee is weakening. This is somewhat of concern, but you can see that the rupee weakening is still a lot less than the impact it has than the, what I will call, increase decrease in the fuel price. And lastly, the load factors is helping to reduce the break-even, and I'm going to show you the break-even fare analysis, which we did not talk in Mumbai, so something for you guys to look at, focus on, and think about it, and write about it. So again, market outlook, nothing new there. All these things leads to these factors. There is a lot more that goes into it, and as I said, this currently does not factor in the new policy. Next. So the traffic is truly mind-boggling in terms of growth. Last year, India carried about 80 million domestic passengers, and we didn't have any of the negatives like we had in the earlier years. In 2012 in particular, you can see the dip, and then still couldn't come back to the original traffic. Now you can see this year, it's taking a similar jump, and the 20% rate is continuing. It's 2 reasons. One is the capacity addition. The second is the attractive fares because of the lower fuel. And these 2 things are contributing to this. And I expect we don't quite hit the 100 million mark in 2016, but we'll probably get to 95 million passengers flown in 2016. That's a far cry from half of that much just 6 years ago. So we are growing really fast, which you already know, but this data shows it month by month for each year. Now, I wanted to compare the regional metric, what we do in India with what's happening in different parts. So if I look at the global and our own region here in dark blue, the number of seats added here is 18%, 3 times in terms of percentage. Okay, remember this is not absolute number, percentage than the rest of the world. Flights also, we added a lot more flights than the rest of the world. We added a lot more available seat kilometers compared to the rest of the world. And why this number is only roughly 2 times? Because we add a lot more smaller airplanes and the world takes on a lot of big airplanes. And that's the difference. And seats per flight is almost the same. And here is an interesting thing. The stage length that world is flying is going up a little bit, but in India it's actually going down. And there's a reason for it, because we have saturated in metros now, and as the new airplanes come in, they got to find a way to fly into the regional connectivity that we will talk about, but certainly in the secondary airports. And those are shorter flights, and that's why you can see this trend continue even next year. Okay? Now, who has added what? So this is by each airline. You can see that everybody, those are the big carriers who have, like 5 billion ASKs, they have added 9%. Air India, because they took deliveries of 737s for the Air India Express and the 787s. Indigo added A320s. Jet Airways added some of the leased airplanes. SpiceJet added quite a bit. So you can see the trend, and of course TrueJet and all these numbers are pretty high, but then they are from a very, 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 very small base. But just want to show how these things are happening and how people continue to add capacity. And the disciplined growth is going to be the key for India's future success. As long as we grow with discipline, don't create overcapacity to the market, everybody is going to be able to play and grow with profit. We have grown in India without any question, but we have grown at a huge price of huge losses, and that's not the way to do it. Okay? And this is the fuel price trend I was talking about. This I have normalized into rupees, so exchange rate is already factored into this. And you can see that this is the time when fuel had gone about the highest at 6.26 a gallon. And at the other peak, you can see it had gone only to 4.74, but because the exchange rate had sort of depreciated, rupee had depreciated, that number is still higher than this. Today, it's only 2.62, almost half of this. Yet, our numbers are not quite half, and the reason for that is the exchange rate continues to go up, and that'll be the next chart. And now today, the world average has come down about 157. Now here is the exchange rate trend I was talking about. We went through quite a bad period in 13. You can see precipitously we went from 53 to 68, and that's quite a shock. I would call it an exogenous shock, and we came down. But now if you look at 14 through now, you can almost see, if you're a statistician, a linear trend of rate going up steadily. Okay? And I saw the statement by current governor of RBI, who says the rupee is valued right. So obviously this trend is in the right direction. But this arrow says as you go up on this curve, the rupee gets weak and weak. And right now, because the fuel price is low, this isn't a big deal, but it can become a big deal if fuel price continues to start going up. So this is the new info that I was talking about, okay? The break-even fare, I have given you data here from 13 through now, and you can see the break-even fare, which has gone up very high because of the high fuel in 14, has now come down by 39%. So the break-even, what it takes for an airline to not lose any money, the fare has come down from almost 130 all the way down to about $72, $73. Okay? But at the same time, the yield is coming down in India also due to multiple reasons. You can see the fares, you can see the advertisements, people continue to talk about come fly with us at a lower price. And if you go to the next chart, I will show you that the fares have decreased about 19%. And that's same as reduction in the yield, okay? So what I'm showing you here is in both US dollar and Indian rupees, the break-even analysis. And again, you've got to understand this is average. I've been showing you this for the last few years. And the domestic market is showing profit, no question about that. Everybody's profitable right now, okay? Fares have decreased 19%, and because of that, because the costs have decreased even more, which is the green column, the break-even fare, this is the money they were making in a year ago, and today the cost has gone down even further, the break-even has gone down even lower, and you can see on each passenger you are able to make now almost 2.5 times of what we were making before. You look at the same analysis in rupees, and you can see the difference is somewhat dramatic because of the exchange rate. You saw that curve of exchange rate going up. It has factored in there, but still you're making some profit here, and you still continue to make more profit than it was. So this is the picture. We obviously are very, very careful in monitoring this, because this is really what shapes India's future market, and this is what will allow people to induct more airplanes and spend more money on aircraft purchases. And we created a MAX 200 for low-cost airlines, which is a 200-seater, and I'll show you the picture of that, which will be all economy 200 seats, which is ideally suited for basically LCCs, and I just had an opportunity to sell 100 of these to an airline in Vietnam called Vietjet, which was a $13 billion sale. So this is picking up. The Dash 8 is already there in India. Dash 9, Jet has bought this. Dash 10, we are talking about it with people. And these two airplanes, we sold it in the Middle East, but we are thinking it has an application in India when carriers like Air India and Jet will try to replace this airplane. Because these two airplanes are 25% more fuel efficient than the 777-300ER, which itself is a very popular and successful airplane today. And this airplane is pretty much the same that we have right now. Next. So the MAX, we'll go through this real quick. Lots of airlines, lots of orders. The key is the quality. Our customer base is quite important and quite quality, okay? And in India, of course, you have SpiceJet and you have Jet Airways in here somewhere that you will be able to spot. It's right there, and you can see all the airline names that have bought this airplane. Next. And just wanted to let you know that obviously when we design these airplanes, compared to NEOs in every category, we fly this airplane a lot longer, farther than our competition, which allows to open up new markets which you couldn't have done before. Next. So this some of you already know, so I'll go through it quick. Contrary to what people think, the A320 came in the 80s, okay? And our NGs came first time in 1998. We have improved in 6% our NGs just over the time as a normal product improvement. And now we have taken the MAX, which is 14% better than our current NGs, or 20% better than our first NG that actually came to Jet Airways in 1998, 800s, okay? Airbus has taken their 1986 version and have added about 13%, and they've done the winglets in 2012, which we did way back then, and then they have done the new engine in 2015, which is what we have done on our MAX, okay? And the engine we have is only one. We don't have the Pratt engine, which is undergoing some issues right now. Our engine is flying fine, everything is perfect, the fan diameter is higher, so it has that increased fuel efficiency of 14% that I showed. There's a new winglet up and down. It creates a natural laminar flow. It gives you additional 1.8% in terms of reduced fuel burn. And this winglet is different than today's winglet. We also have a flight deck which has basically same parameters, same architecture, but the screens are much bigger And the reason we have done that is this airplane will enter into service in 2017 and should be there for 2 or 3 decades after that. Over the time, we think that various regulatory agencies around the world may come up with additional requirement for additional parameters to be displayed on the screen. And today, it's only a software that you can use that you can show the data on the screen. So we have all the space on these screens to show more information, and that way we don't have to redesign the cockpit or redo something. It'll be a very inexpensive change if the regulatory said, I want to see this or I want to add this. And the Boeing Sky Interior is flying in India for a number of months now, both with Jet and SpiceJet, and Air India Express has 3 of these now. These are basically sculpted sidewalls, new LEDs, bigger bins, and basically the PSUs, which are a lot different, and it is simplifying and making a brighter interior. If you ever get a chance to fly, it would be nice if you get in it, you will certainly realize, oh, I'm in a different airplane. Okay? Now, this is what I was talking. From Delhi now, you can easily go to Cairo or Moscow in a 737-8, and 7 can go even longer. And you can see that Manila, Seoul, Shanghai, some of these flights that we are looking at are in the range now, which wasn't the case before. And it gets you the MAX 200. As many of you know, the MAX 8 has 189 seats in our all-economy configuration for LCC. This one has 200, and so we've got 11 seats and 20% lower fuel cost per seat. That's why this is becoming a popular LCC airplane. This was launched by Ryanair in Ireland, and now Vietjet, and we just sold another one in China at Farnborough Show. So that's the kind of summary. I think you guys have it in your thing, but it's more fuel efficient, more range, more seats, and standard sky interior, and highest reliability compared to the Neos. So that's why we think we'll have a better chance with working with airlines. Okay? And our first flight was January 29. We are on target to deliver next year. And let's talk quickly about the 87, which I'll be very brief because you already know this airplane is flying here for a while. 1,155 orders from 64 customers right here in India, our 2 marquee customers. Okay? And the Dash 9 has capability, which is enormous. It can go from all the way Delhi to New York, and that's something airlines can do very efficiently. As you know, Air Canada is going to fly this airplane from Toronto to Delhi, which can easily do that. And similarly, we have been flying the Dash 8 version actually, which is inside, easily from Delhi to Sydney. In fact, you can almost go to Auckland in New Zealand, pretty much. Okay? And the 15 longest non-stop route that I've flown with this, the newest one started was San Francisco, Singapore. United started that on June 1. It's a 7,328 miles done in about 16 hours. And this is against the wind coming into Singapore. Of course, going back is much faster and almost an hour and a half quicker. You can see some of the other routes I talked about, Toronto, Delhi, that Air Canada is flying. Then you can see all other routes, but these are the sort of really long range routes like LA, Melbourne, and Los Angeles, Sydney, and all those things. Next. And today, the 87s are flying over 470 routes. And if you go to the next, there are 100 new non-stop markets which are being connected by 87 because of the capability of the airplane. Yes, you could have flown 777s there. Yes, you could have flown A380s in those markets. But those markets were such that you didn't need more than 250 or 280 seats because there were not that many passengers who could have flown. When 87 came along, it was the perfect plane for the airlines because the cost was right, the ability to fly was there, and the passenger preference was there. And that's why these 100 new routes have flown. These are in operation, the green ones, and the new ones are coming up right now. So you can see what is happening because of this. Next. And I won't go into this, but all these things is what is really allowing people to come. in terms of what we feel. As I said, lower cabin altitude, humidity, clean air, excellent sound, temperature control, and you feel all these things when you're flying, and that's why people are preferring 87 again and again. And we have 3 versions. These 2 are flying now. This one will come into play in 2018. So if you want to make money, you get the 87-8. If you want to make more money, you go -9. And if you want to really make money, but you can't fly non-stop to US, you can go into the -10 because it is unbelievably efficient because it has 100 more seats than the -8 and burns only incrementally lot less fuel, and that is why the efficiency is very good. Okay? And this is important to know that 102 million people have flown now 787s. Revenue more. 538,000 flights, almost 3 million flight hours, and we already talked about the routes it flies, and 424 deliveries to 39 operators as of now. So it's really on a path. And then the new airplane that we are started selling and working on, which I said is a replacement for the 777-300ER. Again, same thinking, we want to make it more efficient, less fuel burn per passenger, and more amenities for the passenger. So 777 is very popular. Why am I showing you this? The X will have all these guys as a potential customers, including right here Jet Airways and Air India. And it is already bought by these 6 guys. And you can see the Emirates here, which ordered 150 of these at Dubai Air Show almost 3 years ago for $60 billion. On that single day with Emirates, Qatar, and Etihad, we announced a $100 billion day, which has probably will never happen in the history of aviation. Now, just to tell you, this airplane, the 777X, and our existing airplane, compared to A350, is selling 3 times and 4 times more than that airplane. You can see for the last few years, this airplane hasn't sold at all. For this time at Farnborough, Virgin Atlantic bought 8 of these. So it's a pretty flat curve, whereas we continue to sell these airplanes, and these were the big jumps we did initially. And now this airplane doesn't come till 2020, but we will obviously continue to push it for showing the benefits of this aircraft. And this is the same answer. The family, look at their family, which is 250 to 350. We go from roughly 250 all the way to 400. And again, this is just a comparison. They are more fuel efficient, better economics. That's what people are going for. And these are some of the things. We'll just go through it quick. Go ahead. And go ahead with the new engine, which is 5% more efficient than any other engine. And this engine will have only 16 blades. It's got a very high pressure ratio of 27, and it's going to be 10% lower fuel burn than the -300. But these airplanes will have 50 more passengers than the -300, and that's why the net efficiency is going to be closer to 20%. Okay? And these are some of the architectures. You will see wider cabin, LED lights, different fields. Whatever we did on 87, we brought into this, and we try to look at more. Okay, next. Yeah, these are the new seats for business class, first class, which are quite prominent. And this airplane, particularly the -9, can go from anywhere in India to any place in the world, even South America or anywhere. There isn't a place in the world you can go with the -9. And in the case of, go back for a second, in the case of -9, which is 50 more passengers, you still got a pretty good range. You can go to New York, you can go to LA, and of course, these things are like very easy to go. Okay? And we are on target for first delivery of X in 2020. So that's just a value proposition. Next. And I thought I'd just tell you, because I'm going there on Friday to look at my wonderful MRO, which is up and down and running. I got to talk about this every time simply because if you go there, and some of you had a chance to go there, it's quite impressive what is happening. Air India tells me they have done about 11 airplane C-checks there now, and it's in operation. I want to see what's going on there and how much is in really people and all. I understand there's a permanent staff there now, and that's going to be good because this is a great Make in India infrastructure project. Rather than sending airplanes out of the country, you can fly them to India within 1.5 to 2 hours, right at the center of the country, and from there you can use them. Okay? And in summary, basically you already know this: 1850 airplanes, 265 billion, 20 years, highest growth. The fuel price, exchange rate are sort of creeping up, but still within the bounds, and they're watch items, but we think they will continue to be in the range that airlines will be profitable, and we continue to do new airplanes that I just